Hello students, welcome back to another session with me, Mr. Jamang, your political science mentor. Today, we'll go to the next chapter. The name of the chapter is Planning and Development. As we have already been informing you, there are some changes in the chapters and the contents. In the same way, in this chapter you will find some additions which you will not find in your textbook. So kindly refer to your PPTs, the notes which are provided to you in the WhatsApp group. So in this chapter, we will discuss about the changing nature of India's economic development. We will discuss about the Planning Commission of India. We will discuss about the 5-year plans. We will discuss about the National Development Council. And we will discuss about the Niti Aayog. So, if you go through your textbook, you will not find these topics on National Development Council and the Niti Aayog. So, kindly refer to the notes given on in the WhatsApp group. So, let us continue with the chapter. As I have mentioned, this chapter is about planning and development. If you can recollect the first chapter we discussed about three major challenges faced by the country after independence. The first challenge was integration of territories. The second challenge was establishment of democracy. And the third challenge was development and well-being of the citizens. So in this chapter, we will discuss about development. So after India's independence, the leaders of the country were faced with this problem of how to bring about development of the country. So, in the world economic arena, there was an increasing demand for steel. So that is why the leaders of the country felt that if this iron ore resources are exploited, it will help in improving the economy of the country. That is why one of the state with the richest reserve of iron ore is Orissa. So the government signed Memorandum of Understanding, that is an agreement signed with companies. So the government signed many Memorandum of Understandings with both domestic and international steel makers. That means the government of India signed many agreements with steel manufacturing industries of India and foreign countries. One important steel makers with which the government signed a Memorandum of Understanding was a Korean company called POSCO. Yes. So why did the government sign Memorandum of Understanding with the steel manufacturing industries? The government was of the opinion that if the government signs this Memorandum of Understanding with these steel companies, it will help in increasing capital investment from these companies. That means they will invest their money, which will help in increasing the income of the country. And if these steel companies set up in the steel manufacturing industries in the country, it will help in increasing the employment of the people. But unfortunately, many of these iron ore resources were found in underdeveloped tribal areas. Now, it was the government's step to establish steel industries became a threat to the identity of these tribals who were living in underdeveloped condition. So there was a fear among the tribals of displacement from their home and from their livelihood. Now, if factories are set up in this, industries are set up in these tribal areas, they will not have a place to live. Why? Because they will be driven away from their native native homes. Their main source of livelihood, which is agriculture, will be disturbed because their agricultural land will be destroyed because of mining. So it became a threat to the livelihood of the tribals. Then again, if these industries were set up, now environmentalists were not in support of setting up of establishment of industries. Why? Because establishment of industries will lead to pollution of the environment. And on the other hand, now the central government felt that if the Memorandum of Understanding was discontinued or if it was cancelled, it will set a bad example to the country. Foreign investors will not willingly want to invest in India. So, these were the opinions of different classes or different groups of the society. Now, when such conflicts of opinion emerges, how is this conflict to be solved? This conflict cannot be solved by just an expert. An environmentalist cannot just solve it, an economist cannot just solve it. So, what is in a democracy? It is very important to bring a compromise to these conflicts of opinion, and the decision should be approved by the people. And so, it is no doubt it is very important to take advice from experts on mining, environment, economics, but final decision should be taken, the final decision should be a political decision. It should be, the final decision should be taken by the politically elected leaders. So, after India's independence, many such major decisions were taken. And so, yes, it was felt by all the people from all walks of life that, yes, it is very important to bring about development in India. And development in the country should mean economic growth. But it should not only be confined to economic growth, but economic growth should go hand in hand with social and economic justice. And it was felt that the government should play a major role in bringing about economic growth in the country. And the economic affairs should not be left to the businessmen, to the industrialists, or to the farmers. So, all these questions involve political contestation or political debate. Political parties, political leaders belonging to different parties, they have different opinions. And so, a debate was required. A consultation was required among the different leaders. How to go about, which policies to follow to bring about economic growth. So the first decade after independence during the first decade of the after independence, independent India experienced lots of such political contestations or debates. At the time of India's independence, there were two major models of development occurring in the world. The first model was a liberal capitalist economic system, which was adopted in the Western countries. Then the other model was the socialist model, which was followed in USSR. Many of the leaders, not only the socialist or communist leaders of India, but many prominent leaders in India were influenced by the socialist method or model of economic development. But these leaders were aware that the problem faced by India was totally different from those faced in the Western countries and in Russia, in USSR. That is why they were aware that they agreed that economic growth should go hand in hand with social and social and economic justice. It was accepted that there was a need for the government to develop designs and plans for development. So it was the idea of the Planning Commission came into existence. But the idea of the Planning Commission did not just suddenly occur. In 1944, many of the big industrialists got together and drafted a proposal for setting up a planned economy. This draft is also known as the Bombay Plan. So, according to this draft, that is according to the Bombay Plan, the industrialists wanted the state to take major initiatives in industrial and economic investment. The industrialists were not wanting to take the lead, but they want the government to take the lead in taking initiatives for industrial and economic investment. So, in March 1950, the Planning Commission was set up. The Planning Commission was set up in March 1950, and with the Prime Minister as the chairperson of the commission. The main motive of the Planning Commission was, but it's in simple words, adequate means of livelihood to provide, to adopt plans and policies to implement adequate means of livelihood. The second motive or the second objective was to make sure that ownership of control of material resources for common good. Then the third point is operation of economic system not to result in concentration of wealth. So these were some of the major objectives of the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission opted for a method of planning based on the Soviet system, which is known as the FiveYear plans. So the Planning Commission adopted what was followed by the Soviet Union and adopted the policy of FiveYear plans, in which the Planning Commission prepared documents that has planned for income and expenditure for 5 years. And the budget of the Planning Commission was divided into two parts. One is known as the non-planned budget, and the other one is known as the planned budget. So the non-planned budget was to be spent on routine time on yearly basis, whereas the plan budget was to be spent for a fixed period of 5 year or 5 year basis. So that was how the Planning Commission implemented the first 5-year plan. The first 5-year plan was implemented in 1951 till 1956. The first 5-year plan emphasized on development of agrarian sector. That is, the first 5-year plan targeted on the growth of agriculture. Along with the growth of agriculture, the first 5-year plan emphasized on developing dams and irrigation. Then the second target of the first, so during this period, many multi-purpose projects were established. One example is the Bakhra Nangal Dam was set up during this time. Then the Planning Commission realized that the pattern of land distribution was an obstacle in agricultural growth. That is why the Planning Commission, the first 5-year plan emphasized on land reforms. The third point was the first 5-year plan emphasized on increase of national income. So, in order to increase the national income, the Planning Commission emphasized or encouraged the people to save with the banks. So these were some of the major objectives of the first 5-year plan. By the end of the first 5-year plan, the planners realized that the result of the first 5-year plan was not satisfactory. So in the second 5-year plan, the planners emphasized on development of heavy industries. And in order to promote the growth of heavy industries, the government decided to impose substantial tariff on import to protect domestic industries. This policy adopted by the government helped both the public and the private sectors to grow. Because of this policy adopted by the government, there was substantial growth in the development of electricity, railways, steel, machineries, and communication. But because of this emphasis on industrial development, huge investment was required to acquire technology in which India was backward. That is why India had to spend a huge amount in foreign exchange for procuring technology for the development of industries. It resulted in ignoring or neglecting the agricultural sectors, which led to a near famine situation in the country. So, balancing of industry and agriculture became a big problem for the Indian planners. The third 5-year plan was not significantly different from the second 5-year plan. But because of the various problems that emerged after the first and second 5-year plan, critics began to emerge and they began to criticize the policies of the government. Critics came up with the opinion that the plan strategy of the planners displayed urban bias. That means they were of the opinion, some of the critics were of the opinion that the various policies adopted by the planners were mainly for the interest of those who are in the urban areas. And so, the benefit of economic planning was only for those who were living in the urban areas and affected the livelihood of those in the rural areas. On the other side, the critics were of the opinion that industries were industries were wrongly given priority over agriculture, and they were of the opinion, some were of the opinion that they wanted the government, the planners, to focus on industries related to agriculture rather than emphasizing on heavy industries. So this differences in the opinion of the critics led to two major controversies. One was a controversy between agriculture and industry, and so there was a controversy between agriculture and industry. And those who were in support of agriculture, they were of the opinion that the planners' lack of strategy for development led to the creation of prosperity in urban areas and industrial sectors at the expense of farmers and the rural population. Another controversy was between public sector and private sector. So these were some of the problems that emerged after the first 3 5-year plans. After 3 5-year plans, since the results of the plans were not satisfactory, the 5-year plans were suspended. And instead of 5-year plans, annual plans were implemented, lasting for a period of 1 year. So 3 annual plans were implemented. But even these 3 annual plans did not provide the expected yield. That is why, again, the Planning Commission once again restored the 5-year plans. So in that way, altogether, 12 5-year plans were held, and the last 5-year plan, that is the 12th 5-year plan, was for the period from 2012 to 2017. But the plan could not complete its tenure because it was replaced by the Niti Aayog. So, before going to the Niti Aayog, we'll discuss about the National Development Council. The National Development Council was established in 1952. It is the apex body, that is the highest body to approve the 5-year plans. The National Development Council is composed of the Prime Minister as the chairperson and Chief Minister of States and the administrators of union territories as members. The Secretary of the Planning Commission is also the Secretary of the National Development Council. The main objective of the National Development Council was to, number one, is to strengthen and mobilize resources in support of the planning. Then, second point is to promote common economic and political development. To promote common economic policy. Then the third objective of the Planning Commission, of the National Development Council, is to ensure balanced and rapid development of all the parts of the country. And not only that, it aims to provide platforms for the state or for the states to discuss their problems and issues related to development. Another objective of the National Development Council is to consider important questions of social and economic policies affecting national development. Then another feature of the plan, another objective of the National Development Council is to review the working of the plans from time to time. And according to its findings, the National Development Council can recommend measures necessary for achieving the targets of the national plan. So these are some basic objectives of the National Development Council. And as I have mentioned, after the unsatisfactory results of the 5-year plans, the Planning Commission was replaced by the Niti Aayog in January 2015. The Niti Aayog was created on 1st January 2015, and it has the Prime Minister as its chairman. The main aim of the Niti Aayog is to foster involvement in the economic policy making process by state governments. Then another important objective of the Niti Aayog is to bring cooperative, competitive federalism. Then, one more important aim of the Niti Aayog is to improve center and state relation. After its establishment, the Niti Aayog has been criticized on many grounds. It has been called an old wine in new bottle. But in spite of much criticism, the establishment of Niti Aayog has led to the country with the growth rate of 7.5%, when the whole globe and when the whole world's economy is having a slow growth. So this development or this rapid growth in the economy proves that the implementation of the Niti Aayog is moving on the right track, and it has created a positive opinion in the minds of many people. So, in this chapter, we have discussed about the establishment of the Planning Commission. We have discussed about the various features required for economic planning. We have discussed about the 5-year plans. We have discussed about two new topics, the National Development Council and the Niti Aayog. Kindly refer to the PPTs for more details, and if there is any problem, feel free to contact. Thank you for viewing. Take care.